Make sure your insurance doesn't come up short. Get gap cover with ALA. For more information, follow the links in the description. Hello everybody and welcome to the Ferrari 296. With a list price of £392,000, this is the most expensive new car I've ever tested. With over 820 horsepower on tap and a thunderous amount of torque from its 3-litre V6 twin-turbo hybrid engine, this is also one of the fastest cars I've ever driven. And so, a car with a serious price and serious performance deserves a serious review. And that is exactly what we're doing today. For this might be the most in-depth test of a car I've ever conducted. And we've got some very, very nice scenery for you. Enjoy. If you've been following the channel for a while, you'll likely have seen the fact that I have driven a Ferrari 296 before. However, there are a couple of key differences between this one and that one. First off, that had the Assetto Fiorano pack, the hardcore option that Ferrari introduced fairly recently, which gave the car stiffer suspension, no lift, and a few changes throughout the body, meaning that it was not just lighter, but also faster. Thing is though, most customers didn't go with that option, some 70% of them having the regular car, and that's what we've got today. The other big difference, that was a GTB. This is the GTS, meaning we can have the roof down. Oh, and what a difference this makes. However, as we'll discuss very shortly, it's the GTS that I've always been fairly worried about. Now, it's almost impossible these days to talk about any significant new car model without using the phrase, and this is controversial, and the 296 is no exception. Introduced in 2022, this was the debut of an all-new model line. Now, of course, to you and I, it's the car that followed on from the F8. To Ferrari, though, it is not. That was the end of an old thing, and this is the start of a new one. But seeing as it is now the entry-level mid-engined Ferrari, I think we can all count it as part of that lineage, which dates back to the mid-1970s with the 308. And of course, one thing that connects all of those cars, a mid-mounted V8 engine. And people got upset when they attached turbos to it. It's lost 2 cylinders and gained a hybrid setup. And of course, this means it produces frightening performance numbers. But many were concerned this meant it'd have lost a little bit of its personality. But I assure you, there's absolutely no need to worry. Sure, I'm driving along now at 30 miles an hour in total and complete silence. But press a button down here, that engine fires into life, and you will be given what I think is one of the sweetest power plants, not just on sale today, but ever. It's good. Really good. The integration of the single electric motor at the back and the combustion engine is utterly and totally seamless. The two work in perfect harmony, and it gives you not just fantastic response, but also masses of shove low down. And what they do here is a very similar trick to Porsche. So, as the revs begin to rise, the hybrid assistance bleeds away, the engine then takes over, itself making 660 horsepower, and then as you get to the top end of the rev range, the hybrid system comes back in, giving you this wonderful rush for the 8,500 RPM red line. And it's all accompanied by what I think is a fantastic soundtrack. Sure, the hills will not be alive with the sound of 296, but that's modern regulations. However, it sounds distinctly Ferrari. I'm sure you've seen a review of this car before and know that it's called the Piccolo V12, because they think it sounds like a little V12. And it's got to be said, I don't think that's marketing BS at all. There's definitely a bit of Ferrari V12 in there. And they'll not likely forgive me for saying this, but I think a bit of Nissan RB26 as well helped when you get the wastegates going. It's fun, this thing. Really fun. It's a great engine, this. Oh, let's give you a bit of noise. But the engine, I was never really worried about it. If Ferrari can do anything, it's make a great engine. Though I will admit, I was a little bit surprised when it came out and I saw the specs, because all of Ferrari's media for this coming up to the launch was about the car being fun to drive. And for a very brief moment, I thought, is this their way of trying to justify the fact the new car maybe makes less power than the old one? Silly, silly JayEmm. That was never going to happen, was it? And another classic Ferrari hallmark, the looks. Now I gotta say, when the 296 came out, I really wasn't so sure about it. From the front end, I love it. And the side profile, it's quite distinctive. Very, very different to the old line. The 458, 488, F8 lineage, that sharp edge, that's gone. Replaced with 1960s curves. The rear end, I think, is a bit too fussy. There's a lot going on, there's a lot of parts meeting other parts, and from a selfish perspective, there's not really many places on the back I can stick my exhaust cam either. But I have to say, this has really grown on me. And here, in beautiful triple layer yellow, Giallo Triplo Strato, it looks sensational. Anywhere and everywhere I've been on this 3,000-mile road trip, the car's got an awful lot of looks. And just in case you're wondering where on earth it is that I am and what I'm doing, well, this year I've signed up to Euro Run, a new driving tour. And those who know me will know I don't really do driving tours, but the chap behind it, Andrew, is absolutely lovely. He allayed some of my fears, and I figured, you know what? He's a new business. I'll give it a shot. And I'm very happy that I have. But that's going to be covered in a separate video. Today is all about the car. And to those who remember the first one I drove, the GTB, well, the spec of that I don't think did it any favours. The Spider-Man Ferrari, you'll remember it as. Red and baby blue, they're not such good bedfellows. Now, like many a folding hardtop, if you don't want to go for the full open-air experience, you can just open the little window at the back and still get a bit of that noise without so much of the wind. I'll admit, over the last few days, it's been extraordinarily warm. It's not even 8 o'clock now, and it's already 20 degrees. Yesterday, it was 35. So for a section, we did have to wimp out, put the roof up. I want to say also a big thank you to my friend Ben, aka Ben the Sparkle from Mile by Mile, who's accompanied me on this trip and been my assistant, camera person, co-pilot, and I've also done a brief video with him on his thoughts with the car, and if you want to see that video, it'll be out soon. So make sure to hit the like button, comment, and most importantly subscribe with the notifications icon on, and you'll be told when it lands. And look, there are plenty of things about the 296 I don't like. The little gear shift thing down here, it looks okay, but actually it's a little bit plasticky to feel, even though I don't think it actually is plastic. I just not in love with it. The haptic controls on the wheel, they're a pain too. And look, they have revised it. This is the same layout as I had in the Roma Spider that I also recently tested. So they've now got little indentations allowing you to find things. The car also comes with the now obligatory ADAS suite, and Ferrari have made it as easy as they're allowed to turn the stuff off. I also don't like the fact that the engine start-stop button is now just a touch-sensitive one, though I do like the fact the Manettino has integrated bumpy road mode into it. These seats are very nice, lots of adjustment in them, also have some lovely features like ventilation. That works okay. It's not the best, but it does work, and I do appreciate it. The aircon overall is pretty good, not the best, but also very decent. We've got front lift in here, and that really is the big thing that stopped a lot of people from buying the Fiorano pack cars. You can't have it with those. This dashboard here, Ferrari have revised over time and made subtle improvements. You now have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, at least the latter of which is definitely wireless. And it works pretty well. I note also that for the new 296 Speciale, these buttons are finally proper buttons again. So say what you like about them, but Ferrari clearly do listen to customer feedback. And Ferrari, if you're listening, can you please do something about your stereo? Because this upgraded almost £4,000 JBL Hi-Fi is embarrassing. If it were the standard system, it'd be just about okay. But as the upgrade option, shame. Ding. Performance though, no problem at all. And that Manettino really does the business. In sport mode, as I am now, the power is beautifully metered out, allowing you to put your foot down with confidence. The brakes, naturally gigantic carbon ceramics, well, they do a very good job. Excellent feel, and the steering's pretty good too. In fact, I'd say the steering's good enough that, up until now, I haven't really thought about it. Is it Ferrari's best? No. But does it stop me enjoying the car? Never. Buffeting in here is also pretty minimal. Up until about 70 miles an hour or so, you can hold a conversation with your passenger very easily. Once you then get to more European cruising speeds, it can become a little more difficult, but otherwise, it's pretty good. However, when you are driving something as expensive as this, it does create a little bit of a problem. Because with a list price of near £300,000 and an as-tested price of closer to £400,000, that doesn't really leave a lot of room for me as a journalist to say, well, you know, that's forgivable. Because at that price, nothing is. Coming into this review, there was one big thing that did have me worried. The last mid-engined Ferrari convertible I drove was the F8 Spider, and that car I remember for one thing and one thing alone: a frankly staggering amount of scuttle shake. It was horrendous. I just couldn't believe that Ferrari would let out a car as wobbly as they did. And of course, when it comes to talking about scuttle shake, people will always mention McLaren, and rightly so, because with their carbon tub, the cars are inherently much stiffer, and it means when they lop the roof off, it just doesn't suffer anywhere near as much. Now, many will say that the carbon tub also makes the car a lot lighter, and though there is certainly some truth to that, it's never quite as clear-cut as you would think. Ferrari naturally will give you 1,001 reasons why they still stick with a chiefly aluminium construction for their regular passenger cars. They will happily build you something with a carbon tub, but today, not for anything less than a few million quid. But fact is, Audi also have a chiefly aluminium setup for the R8, and that didn't suffer as much as the F8. And so, I was genuinely concerned that this just wouldn't be any better. The chassis is all new, but it's still mostly aluminium. The GTS naturally also carries a weight penalty, which here is quite significant. In fact, this being the normal version, not the Assetto Fiorano, and the GTS is some 150 kilos heavier than the GTB that I drove. In all honesty, you don't feel that weight. The car is still darty, has that classic super responsive Ferrari front end with incredibly quick steering. You've got to be awake when you're driving this thing. And if you sneeze, brace yourself. It is also significantly shorter of wheelbase than the old car, by some 50 millimeters, which means here in the GTS, the cabin is on the tight side. However, had they fixed the scuttle shake? Sort of. It's better. It's definitely better, and it doesn't bug me in anywhere near the way it does with the F8. But it's still there. On some of the odder sections of motorway, you can feel it the whole time. And on more demanding sections of road, you can also feel it. Now, I've got this set in its bumpy road mode, which is a brilliant setting. The suspension here is magnificent. And this is the only way I'd have a 296. Either GTB or GTS. Don't get the Fiorano pack if you're buying it as a road car, which I think most people are. The suspension of a Ferrari has always been one of its finest qualities, and I'm delighted to say that this, I think, is even better than the F8. That, for me, was a little too harsh. This has taken a step back, and it's all the better for it. Put it then into sport or race mode and you do really feel a difference. And that final one in particular will show up the deficiencies in the chassis. But whereas that F8, I spent the entire time going over every bump, here that hasn't happened. And yeah, sure, the car is more rounded, more refined than Ferraris of old. It's still got a fantastic character, and when you want to pile on the speed, it comes alive. This is far more playful and exciting than any 911 Turbo I've ever driven. It's just intoxicating. And we've really put this thing through its paces. We've driven across multiple countries, and we've still got some to go. One we haven't yet come to is Germany. But one thing I can tell you, when you're not enjoying Germany's roads and you're cruising at regular speed, this car has another party piece up its sleeve. The ludicrous fuel economy. When I got this car from Ferrari, we picked it up at the Brands Hatch Ferrari Challenge the other day, which was really nice to do. The guy there told us that this will do 30 to the gallon, and I said, yeah, sure. But he's not lying. It really does. I've measured it, and across 4 different tanks of fuel, okay, cruising, doing normal boring stuff, we achieved a genuine, real-world calculated 30 to the gallon. I was worried that this, with its much smaller tank because of being a hybrid, 65 litres, it would be annoying on a long trip. It's not. It's sensational. Now, visibility on occasion is a little bit restricted. The rear 3/4 is not that great, but that's pretty normal for a convertible like this. Boot space is good, not as good as some of the older cars. Here in the convertible, you've got a little bit behind the seats, but not much. And as I said, the cabin feels tight. I have my seat all the way back, and that's unusual for me. But up front, you will get 2 full-sized carry-ons, or for me, 1 carry-on and a variety of other bags. It's astonishing, this thing. And I know it might sound daft, but I had one of the best experiences of my entire life in this car with the engine off. We've been doing some mountain passes this week, and yesterday we drove the Furka Pass. Absolutely sensational. And it had views that I've barely ever seen in my life. It might be one of the most spectacular pieces of road I've ever driven. And I was with Ben, and we were driving along, and he was taking it in, I was taking it in. But the thing is, you can't go fast on a piece of road like that. So I thought, okay, let's take a different approach. Hit the electric drive button. This car will give you about 25 k's of range when it's fully charged, as it is now. And I put the stereo on. I put on a bit of Matt Monroe, Days Like These, and then some Frank Sinatra, My Way. We're sat there with this beautiful view out the front, the air intakes in the side of the car, this magnificent scenery, the spectacular music, and I was just taken in by the whole thing. The car was sensational. We were effectively coasting down the road. It took every bend in its stride, and I was just overwhelmed. I had I'm sure, just a tear in my eye, and I looked over, and I could see Ben had one too. It was a real proper magic moment. Thing is, I'm a journalist, and so I have to tell you things like the chassis isn't maybe quite as good as it should be. The price is just too high. Ferrari's option prices are getting out of hand. I think driven by an American market that's really keen to spend as much as it can, and a company that wants to make as much money as it can, which is always understandable. And maybe partly because of that, and a general lack of interest towards V6 hybrid stuff, these are depreciating really rapidly. You can pick these up now for £250,000, a significant saving over the list price. The coupe, meanwhile, they're getting to the £200,000 mark. And I'm sure they've still got some way to go, but they've all got a 4-year warranty, they've all got 7 years of free servicing, and though I don't think I could quite justify this as a new purchase, I did sadly inquire with a Ferrari dealer whether they were doing any deals on the GTB, and they told me, we're really sorry, the GTB order book is closed. By the time you see this video, the GTS order book might not be far behind it. Curiously, on Auto Trader at the moment, there are twice as many GTBs as GTS for sale. That's in spite of the fact they launched both at the same time. And though, yeah, sure, when you're really on it, stuff like the old Scuderia Speziale are more fun. This is not one of those. The new Speziale is the new Speziale, but this has a breadth of character quite unlike any supercar I've really ever known. You can creep out of a hotel in the middle of the morning, make not a sound. Then when you want to have fun, hit the qualifying mode button, the engine wakes up, and this thing will sling you towards the horizon. I suppose really maybe the only question I ever needed to ask is this a proper Ferrari? And the answer is simple. Yeah, every bit of it. And trust me, and I know this is the case because every other journalist has said it, this is a better car than the F8. I would have one of these over an F8, no doubts about it. Nicer to drive, more up to date inside, though there are things to be said about the old setup. Better noise, certainly from the factory. Better on fuel, like you care about that really. The 296 is stunning, and it makes me very, very keen to see what Ferrari have in store next. So, there we have it, the Ferrari 296 GTS, a genuine masterpiece from Maranello. I want to say a huge thank you to Ferrari for lending it to me, and to the guys on Eurorun for bringing me out here, and of course to my co-pilot, Ben the Sparkle. And I'll leave you today, not with my customary outro shot, but instead, a little bit of a montage. Like, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.